That was from Pac-Man Jr. on the Atari 7800. A definite favorite of mine. Very
I don't,
solid game.
I don't believe I've ever played Junior. Ever, period. Like, I played Miss Pac-Man. I played
Right.
Pac-Man, of course. I don't believe I've ever played Pac-Man Junior though. What's the actual gameplay
It's
difference?
it's it's fun, man. It's like the screens are much bigger. Like I know there were some different things you could get as well, and like there were differentiated screens. How I was like the original Pac-Man on Atari was just the one thing over and over. You know what I mean? But like Pac Junior had different screens. I think I can't. There was something different you could do that I'm forgetting because I didn't play it for the episode. But it was just like had different sounds, different music, different. Yeah, there was just a lot more to it. So it was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you had some power ups or something, but I don't remember details.
Pac-Man's okay. It's done all right historically, I suppose. So I guess it's fine. So now we're going to talk about nominations for a game episode that we're not going to do. So not that everything we do this podcast is kind of just we're just fucking around here. None of it's serious. So who cares? Let's just talk about what are the games that we want to talk about. I guess from this issue. Do you? I think I had to go first, and that's what led us to Heavy Barrel. So let's avoid that kind of outcome of this and have you go first here.
I would say first would be Commando. I mean, it's just a blast of a game. Like I said, I played it over and over again. Quality graphics for a 7800 type of port, but just like fun gameplay. Like there were secrets to find. You could blast holes in walls that like you just didn't know there were things there, and you get to go to special areas. So just really well done. A lot
And
of
again,
fun.
that we have determined it's the exact same commando as
Yeah,
that's on that's the NES one. Okay.
yeah.
Were
And I
there?
had
I don't think I knew that there were secrets in that game. That's
yeah, because it's just like the idea of blowing up these walls when you have grenades. Like if you blew up certain walls, you could go like get.
that's
I don't remember what those secrets were off the top of my head, but it was. I just remember playing the
pick up
shit out of that game.
probably more grenades.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's still fun.
Yeah. So probably that one, and then still, I gotta say, probably Double Dragon on the 7800. Like it was still so well done because on the 7800 you had the two buttons, so you could punch and kick, and you could jump. Um,
That's clutch for sure.
Yeah, so I again I can't even imagine trying on the 2600. It blows my mind that you even attempted that. But yeah, like on the
So
7800, even like once you got on, like yeah, the music was good, the colors, the quality, for a 70 for an Atari game, very well done, within the capabilities of that. So that would be solid. And then I would probably have to go with Choplifter, man. Choplifter, such a solid game. It's a game that I played with my mom all the time. Just it's one of those games which I would add to our games are playing list. Like if people haven't played it, because I forget that some of the like with the graphical limitations of the Atari, it's still done in a way sometimes on a game like Choplifter where it almost looks 3D, where you're flying and like the sprites in the back, like the mountains in the back, move slower than like the mountains
yeah,
up close, so it gives you that.
parallax. Yeah, parallax. Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
it's when I picked it up, I was like, wow, this still looks cool. Like I know it's Choplifter, but this is still cool, and it's still fun to try to save all the hostages and get them back without getting blown up or accidentally landing on them and stuff like that. Like it's still a fun mechanic to do. So yeah, Choplifter definitely for sure.
Word. Every time I hear that game name, I don't think I've ever. I don't know. Maybe I think maybe actually it was on SMS and we played that super early on the SMS timeline, and I
Mm.
did play it then. So I think I vaguely remember a chopper game where you actually had to rescue hostages. Because what I think of every time I hear that name, I think of Chopper Command, which is an Activision title
Mm.
on 2600. That is probably my second favorite behind River Raid Atari 2600 game. It's fucking fantastic,
Okay.
and that is it's essentially what Heavy Barrel is to Jackal.
Got it. Okay.
In that Chopper Command to this Choplifter, I mean, or Choplifter, right?
Choplifter, yeah.
Choplifter. Yeah. In that all you do in Chopper Command, you're just seek and destroy. There's both helicopters and jet planes in the sky you got to shoot, and then there are the whole. Well, I guess actually no. Maybe this is why I like it so much. Come think, but I guess there is. It's not exactly the same thing, but there are trucks driving along the bottom, and if you lose, I think, points if trucks get blown up by the helicopters or the planes above. So you're trying to keep them all alive
Right.
by clearing the skies above them, you know? So you're not saving something, but you do have an objective beyond just killing things, you know, which, like I said, it didn't even occur to me until as I'm describing this that was involved in it, and maybe that's why I like it so much. But what I was going to say was Chopper Lifter, yeah, has the saving hostages component that makes it a much obviously cooler and diversified gameplay experience. So yeah, I mean, I think I remember the SMS one. I think I remember. I might even suggest it as a game app. Come to think of it, because I believe out of what is available, especially early on, SMS, it wasn't too bad. So that's and that's the kind of game. Like it's simple enough graphically that the SMS's ability, that like kind of like the processing of the SMS and the colors and stuff were so much better than the NES, but they would bog themselves down sometimes so much hardware wise with like afterburner stuff that the speed capability of the system would get negated. But Choplifter was simple enough that that didn't happen, and like the speed and it was basically a good application of that system's hardware, you know what I mean, and it actually looked pretty good and played really well. So I think it was actually a pretty good game. So yeah, I kind of like that one. And out of the three you're talking about here, that would probably be the one I'd have most affinity or most willingness to give a whack at.
Yeah, I don't know how we talk about it for a long period of time.
Right, exactly, right, yeah. Got the hostages into podcast. So my nominations would be Donkey Kong Jr. Like I said, I would love to play the 7800 version because I have so much love for the 2600 version, and it looks pretty damn dope in those pictures, those screenshots. So I would love to play that and get the heightened experience of that. That Secret Quest I would absolutely throw into this conversation because it was, you know, it's on the 2600, and like, you know, I don't know if we've ever talked about them before, man, but the 2600 has a bunch of, like, there's a bunch of games like that. Because this has always been in me, dude. Like, there are these games, the Sword Quest games, which I would think we've talked about it at some point or another, and you know, maybe you have some familiarity with them. But it was a big thing Atari did marketing wise. They hired DC to make to write and make a comic for them. They did this huge contest where they gave away the like actual gold and like with diamond fucking encrusted chalice and a sword, and there was, you know, a crown, I think, and all this stuff they made as part of a fucking big contest they did because the comic books had little clues hidden in them that you would have to use in the game. It was just like a very complex for Atari 2600 game. There was the first one was Earthworld, I think, then Fireworld came out, and Waterworld got to the like beta testing. What do you call that? Not promo, but what the fuck's it called? Where it's just like the beta testing of something. It's not out yet. Stage. Yeah, I'm fucking blank on the word.
Pre-release stage or something.
Yeah, whatever. So they worked on the development of Waterworld, the third one, but it never was released. So because of the crash basically happened, and this was like something they were dumping a bunch of money into, so this whatever. But so I had these cards as kids, and like, I even had the comic book, but even with the comic book, without like, maybe there was a manual too that I needed that I didn't have. I don't know, but I had Fireworld as a kid, and like I couldn't even kind of fucking figure out the game is just like, it is fucking so opaque and like just no clue what you're doing or trying to accomplish. But I was fascinated by it. And I would play it, and I would fucking sit there and just aimlessly wander and like try to figure it out because the story world having the accompanying comic book and like that story world was so
okay.
By comparison, in the 2600 spectrum, engrossing. You know what I mean? So, you know, yeah. I was into those. Raiders of the Lost Ark is another one that you like. I didn't understand how to work. I didn't have the manual, and you got to like do something on the second controller I never knew about to really do it right. But I used to walk around and pick up the whip and pick up the things and fall into the pit and fucking get eaten by the snake, and like all that shit was interesting to me because there were items, so it was like a more complex, almost RPG-esque game. E.T. everyone talks about, but I kind of like.
Oh my gosh,
items so and shit, and like, yeah, I mean, so like I've always been into that kind of game. So this looked like a you know, an actually approachable type of game like that might have been kind of fun again within the confines of this fucking landscape here. And then also, I would like to have tried Pete Rose's baseball just for the novelty of it. So,
Nice.
yeah, so those would have been my three. So our game app on this won't be happening. That's our next game app.